Hi there everyone. Have you ever wondered how I go about creating my Monday minis? Well, today I've got my box of scraps in front of me and I'm going to sort of like walk you through the process on how I go about creating a Monday mini. So in my box I've got all different types of scraps, different colours, themes. They're just basically bits and pieces, and I could, some of you might even just throw them in the bin, but no, I'm going to create something out of them. I hang on to most of my scraps, mainly because I use them in other projects, craft days and things like that, but a lot of the time I just create Monday minis or little tags. So I'm going to pull out all my vintage type bits and pieces today. So this is going to be all the browns and craft colour, maybe a little bit of white. I've got some old stickers there, and I'm just going to pull out all the little bits and tags. I've got ephemera, and it's got lots of chipboard in here, but I'm not going to use chipboard today. So I found some bits and pieces that I can use as journaling spots, or even mount the photo on. I'm just going to keep rummaging through until I'm pretty much got, I think, enough to sort of like choose from. You don't want to leave yourself, too thin. You don't have enough to sort of like use. So make sure if you have a box of scraps, that you pull out a reasonable amount of scraps, so you've got a bit more to work with. Now I do need a 6x6 base sheet of paper. So I've just pulled one out, and I also need something to, whether I mount the photo or not, I'm just going to use one photo in this mini. Sometimes I mount the photos and sometimes I don't. So I'm just going to keep pulling scraps out. I'm just going to fast forward now so you don't have to watch me for ages pulling out all these scraps. So I've finished pulling out all the bits and pieces that I think I'm going to use or need, or I might even use on this mini. So obviously I don't think I'll use them all, but I've just got a really nice selection that I can choose from without, scrounging around again in my box to find stuff that, because I don't have enough. So I've got a light green piece of 6x6 paper, which is sort of reasonably thick, so that's going to be my base. And I also have some these two rectangle like tag shapes, the large ones. They're going to be the base as well, so they're actually double-sided, so I must have been making some sort of tag at some point. I'm just going to go through and just really have a good look at what I've got. And some things I don't think I will use. I can see straight away that, the colour's right, but, I don't think I'll use it. This little typewriter, there's a word sticker there which might go with the typewriter. So sometimes when I look at my die cuts, I go through my word stickers and see if there's a word that will match that die cut or that will fit in. So that's another good way of using some of your old stickers up. Just make sure you've got them out and you look at them as options. So these two tags, so they're going to be my base. I'm just wondering whether I should actually trim them just a little bit, but for the time being, I will leave them as is. And I also have this stitch frame. I think it's a 49er market frame that I've plucked out of the box. So I'm obviously going to slide a photo into that frame. The frame's sort of like around a 3x4 inch size, so that really works well for a one photo mini. So 3x4 is a good size for the 6x6 minis, but you can use bigger photos and smaller photos. I don't know what this word is. I can't even read it. It looks like I've die cut it out, but I really can't make out what it says. It's so funny. I've got this little pocket envelope here. It's got a punched out circle shape, so I could actually tuck something into that. So that's sort of like on my maybe list. And these other like die cuts, I'm just going to use them to layer underneath the frame. So that's a good thing about your leftover pieces. As long as the colours work together, you can just layer and layer your papers, and it's a really nice effect when you layer and you've got lots of different depth, or different pieces that add the depth to your project. So it doesn't matter whether they're tags or bigger layouts, or even minis, or even little mini album pages. Sometimes just adding those extra pieces, colourful layers, just to add something that really makes it quite interesting. So yeah, tuck things under. It's a really good way of using up scraps as well. So there's no scrap that can go in the bin with me. It's all used pretty much. So I've got this little blue die cut with some text on it. I'm going to use that underneath this bird. And the strip I have, I might tuck in at the bottom. So if you're at home and you're doing a little mini layout, then just keep playing around until you are happy with the layout and what you've got and the structure. The thing is, it's hard to keep everything in place. Sometimes I often just bump everything and it all gets skewed, but just you'll get there in the end. So there's an Alice ticket here. Looks like it's from some sort of Alice in Wonderland theme. So I won't be using that. I won't be using that hand. So as you go through, put the items that you're not going to use onto the side, and you can throw them back into your box later. I've found this postcard die cut, and I'm definitely going to use it to do some journaling on. So that means I'm going to have to not adhere it down. So I'll need to be able to pull it out so I can read the journaling. And I've got this other die cut that I might put up the top, but I might actually use some 3D tape on one or two of these die cuts just to make them stand out a little bit more. Now, technically, you could actually ink your bits and pieces, but the idea of the mini is to be quick and not overthink it. And so generally, I don't ink on my minis or stamp or use any sort of mixed media. The minis are just a really good way for me to use up what's in my stash box and scraps. So I think I've got it just about right the way I think I want it to look. I might go through my box one more time and just add a few little bits at the end. I'm just going to cut the bird off the leaves or the die cut here, because the leaves, there's too much white space in those branches of those leaves. And I think I just prefer the bird. It's a bit smaller and it's not so sort of overpowering as far as the size goes. So I've just trimmed him down a bit, so that looks a little bit better. And I'm going to put the leaf section aside. I probably won't use it. But as I say, I'm going to go through my box again and pull out some last minute little bits and pieces just to add some more interest. So I think that's pretty much the way my mini is going to look. So I'm going to put all these bits back into my scrap box. And I probably won't use those sticker words, and I won't use the white cardstock, I don't think. As I said, you could actually put the white cardstock under the frame and cut it to size. So you've got, you know, sort of like a frame to work with, but I don't know. I don't think I'll do that. But yeah, it's a personal choice whether you actually do something like that. Because at the end of the day, the photo is going to slide in underneath that anyway, and you're not really going to see that cardstock. I've got some, it's not actually washi, it's film tape. That's actually not scrap. It's something I've recently bought, so it's not actually technically a scrap, but it's there. It's on my desk because I've just bought it, and I opened it, unwrapped it, and had a good look at it. So now I'm going to start to technically pull apart the pieces to the side so I can start gluing everything down. So the way I do it is I just pull everything off. I'm going to use the Tombow glue today because it's quicker, easy to use on my minis. So you can see the pieces I use at the top I've put up to the top, the pieces I use on the right I've slid to the right, and the strip is at the bottom. I'm just going to trim these two pieces down. I could actually flip them around and use the other side as well because it's actually double-sided. But I think I'm happy with the way I had it originally. So I'm just going to trim maybe just half an inch off each piece. So that they just fit into the 6x6. And again, that actually adds a little bit more of a layered look. Let's get my glue. I'm just going to thin layer of glue around the edges and in the middle. I really love the Tombow glue. It's easy to use, quick, dries pretty well really. Just get this other piece down. I'm going to layer it just slightly over the top of the other piece. Actually, it's a little bit too long, and I've just got a little bit of edge there without the glue, so I'm going to cut a little bit more off. That's a bit better. Next, I'm going to just glue this strip down at the bottom. Just above the edge, and it goes right across the sheet, so that's fine. Next, I'm going to glue the frame. Now remember, I need to leave a side open. I'll probably leave the left, as said, so let's just glue the top. And the bottom and the right hand side. And I hold that in place because the frame is thicker cardstock, and I just think it might need a little bit more pressure in there to keep it, you know, so it gets stuck down pretty well. Oops, I forgot this piece. Let's just tuck that in there while I have the chance. I might just put it on the side. So I'm just adding some final pieces to this. I found a little gum nut die cut. I have got that old piece that I cut out from the bird, but I'm not using it. I'm just going through my box once again, seeing what I can find, just to add a little bit more to the layout. And I've got these little, I don't know what you call them, little leafy flower things. That's the best way I can describe them. They look quite nice behind the bird, so I'm going to use those. And look what I found, some old fibres in the box. So this is what we call they're sort of like mohair, I guess. They look nice behind different die cuts and things like that, just little pieces here and there. I do like using the fibres in my layouts and projects, usually tags, but you know, oops, stuck to my finger. I'm just going to use a little piece here and there just to add a little bit of softness to the layout, and because I can, I've got things to use, so let's just add these little pieces in as well. So I'm just going to put this little bit behind the leaf. I think they're gum nuts, as I said. They're gum nuts more, but so you can find these, the fibres in the shop. They're called kids mohair for curls. And you can find them in the shop, and they just come in a little bag, and you can, it's sort of fun to experiment with these sorts of things. And as I said, I use them a lot in tags because they just look so pretty. I'm just going to glue this little piece down. Yep, so you'll find them in the shop if you do a search. So I'll just get this last piece glued down. It's really cold here today. I'm reluctant to put the heating on in my craft room because it's beautiful and sunny outside, but it's just cold in here. So that's about it. So another Monday mini, oops. So let me know what you think. Have you actually created a little mini layout like this before? They're quite a lot of fun to make, and it's a great way of using out your scraps. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Love you to subscribe. I don't know whether you can hype it. I don't even know whether I've got enough followers for that, but if you do see the hype button, then hype the video and subscribe to the channel. Yep, so I'm not going to use this. If I'd thought about it, I could have used it underneath everything, but I'm not going to use it. So there you go. I will see you next time in the next video. So thanks for watching. Bye for now.